What's up, everybody? As active duty service members, we've all tried to buy multiple ribbons and devices in anticipation of messing up the ribbon construction process. We found it even more demoralizing paying high prices for mounting services. Luckily, the Perfect Ribbon provides the professional mounting look at a fraction of the cost. They take the hassle out of preparing ribbons so you can put on your uniform. Head on over to the show notes and use my referral code to get 20% off on your next purchase.
Say welcome back to Meech Speaks.
Welcome back to Meech Speaks.
Meech Speaks.
Welcome back to Meech Speaks.
Welcome back to Meech Speaks.
Welcome back to Meech Speaks. Welcome back to Meech Speaks.
I want to say something. A prize, motherfucker.
Ooh, man, I love that, man. I love that. Now, you know what's so crazy, bro, is that, man, as we were sitting back, man, I felt like, like the Friday segments, you know what I mean? They it's at the end of the week, you know what I mean? And the idea of unpacking, you feel me? Unpacking the emotional load, unpacking the mental load, you feel me? Might have to unpack the physical load depending on what your job may consist of or what you had did. So it's always good to have you on the show, bro, and just tap into just different topics, bro. So that really means a lot.
No, I appreciate it, bro. And like I said, I love it too because, like, with something that you think about, I don't think a lot of us ever unpack. You know what I mean? And I think to have a space where we can finally feel free and not feel guilty to be like, you know what, I'm about to just lay everything off because when you done with Friday, a lot of times you trying to recoup for the whole week. You know what I mean? So that day doesn't even seem like a day where you can unpack because you're like, damn, I got to do this for the weekend. I got to do that. So having a space for them, I think is amazing to be like, no, this is your time where you can come and you can use some of the things that we saying and apply it to your life where you can kind of unpack and try on what fits and let go of what doesn't.
Absolutely, bro, man. Since the conversation of unpacking is on the table, what does unpack mean to you?
All right, great question. I think, one of the things that I do in therapy for a lot of clients and life coaching that I do is I tell clients to try on what fits in their life and to unpack what doesn't. You know what I mean? And I feel like on a weekly basis, us as humans need to do that because we're steady evolving and we're steady changing, whether we want to or not. You know what I mean? So I feel like it's one of those where I put it as simple as this: 90% of the things that we worry about are things we can't control. So let's focus on the 10% and unpack that 90 in segments like this. You know what I mean? What about you? What do you feel
Oh,
for
man.
unpacking? What does that mean to you?
Man, what it means to me, man, is that it's disconnecting,
Mm-hmm.
refocusing,
Mm-hmm.
and when I say refocusing, lining up, the Monday through the Friday,
Mm.
and well, shit, probably even the Monday through the Sunday,
Mm-hmm.
you feel me, and actually just taking in everything that transpired through the week. You know what I mean? Because I feel
Mm-hmm.
like a lot of times, like we'll go through the week,
Mm-hmm.
you know what I mean, on autopilot,
Mm-hmm.
and shit just happening through the week, but you just going through the motions. You know what I
Yep.
mean? Something happened on Monday, you just went on ahead and got past that because you had other things on your table on your plate that you had to eat. You
No.
feel me? Wednesday you had to deal with something. Friday you might had a little bit of downtime in the morning, but
Mm-hmm.
now here it is, you working overtime. So I feel like when it's time to unpack, it's actually time to dissect the actual week and
Mm.
really understand and analyze exactly what occurred and how and what lessons that I can learn from that.
Absolutely. I love that, man. I love that. I think that's a good idea. And just to piggyback on that, another thing that I think um unpacking should be is refueling. You know what I mean? I feel like once they unpack it, a segment like this should help them refuel for the next week. You know what I mean? Like a lot of times we pour into
Oh, 100%.
everybody else and never pour into us. So this gives us a chance to be like, you know what do I need for this upcoming week? You know what I mean? And how can I set
Mm-hmm.
boundaries for myself to put myself in a better position than I was last week?
Oh, I love that segue, bro. But since you segued into it, man, what we talking about today?
Man, we definitely talking about what we just talked boundaries. I feel like what not better way to start unpack with Meech and RT than boundaries? I feel like it's a topic that's not spoke about enough um in our generation, if I want to be honest. Let me ask you something. What do you think when you hear the word boundaries, what comes to mind?
Barriers, a
Ooh,
wall,
okay.
um, essentially a guard
Mm,
almost. And I know that may seem essentially hostile to
mm-hmm,
immediately think of boundaries as that.
mm-hmm.
But when I think of boundaries, I always think of my guard or
Ooh,
like a gate or like, this is, like, so, you've been on a plane before.
yeah,
Like, this is my TSA. Like, hey,
okay,
make sure you check all these things at the door before you get on this plane.
got you.
And I always view my boundaries as that. Nothing,
Okay,
nothing as small as a line in the sand to say like, hey, don't cross this line. No,
okay,
man, check that bullshit. Check that bullshit back there.
got
When
you.
you pass this, when you pass this threshold right here, understand that that won't be tolerated on this side. I
I like it.
promise you that.
I like it. I like it.
When you think of boundaries, man, what do you think of?
You know what? The thing that I love about us, and I hope that listeners, when they're listening, can recognize that I love how some of the things that when we hear words, how it can be so different, but we can also still view it from each other's perspective. Because when you said that, I was like, damn, that is a dope way to view it. But for me, it may be the therapist and the life coach in me, but for me, it's self care. You know what I mean? Like, that's something that I
Mm,
pride myself on. When I hear boundaries, I hear selfish. And I don't think
mm,
we give ourselves the permission to be selfish with our time. And I understand that the type of career that I chose, well, that chose me, I have to be selfish and allow myself to have self care and boundaries to care for others. Because if I don't, I'm useless.
I love that, bro, and I love the fact that you pulled the selfish out of self care. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? A lot of times, like motherfuckers will sit back. I gotta stop saying motherfuckers on air, bro. A
Hey,
lot of time,
they
people.
love
A lot of time.
it.
Hey, they love that real shit, man.
Yeah, you gotta be
But
real.
a
That's why
lot
they
of
relate to you.
times, for real, bro. And I feel like a lot of times, man, when people say self care, man, it's always in this namaste shit. You know what I
Hmm.
mean? It's always getting my chakras in line. It's
Yeah,
always this, I'm going on these trips. Like, nah, man, like self care is putting yourself first. And in
yeah,
order for you to put yourself first, you have to be selfish.
yeah.
And what's so crazy about that is that I did a segment on that a while back, and I
Mm,
said it, and I still stand firm on this one right here,
hmm.
is that selfish people are happier.
Hmm.
Selfish
Absolutely.
people are much
Oh,
more
that's a
happier.
gem.
You feel me?
Yeah,
Because they not afraid to draw the line in the
no,
sand. They not afraid to say no. They
yeah,
not afraid to put themselves first.
yeah,
They not afraid to say that they're number one out loud.
yeah.
And a lot of times, like people will say, like, "Oh, I don't want to be selfish," but when they think of selfish, they think of it in such a negative, like
I
a
agree.
negative context.
I
They
agree.
always think of it as, "Oh, we're in a tribe and we're hoarding some shit,
Yeah,
so I'm being selfish by keeping this to me."
no,
No, I'm being selfish because I have to put myself first. Like
no,
it I have to. Like
no,
it's my story, it's my body.
no. And I think it comes to self-awareness. You know what I mean? I
Hmm.
identified early on that I'm a person that I will give until I'm empty. You know what I mean? And that's with my career, that's with
Same.
my relationship, that's with my family, that's with my friends. So I realized that a lot of times I was left empty and drained with no one to pour into me. So when it came time for me to do work that I'm paid for, I was unable to perform at a high level because I gave so much of myself to everyone and I didn't give enough of myself to myself. You know what I mean? Like you say, I feel like that's
Hmm.
where people miss out on. Think like this, and we did this before on one of the episodes. And for the listeners, I challenge you guys: who's the most important person in your life? I know you remember that question, bro, but it's one of those where
Hmm.
yeah, a lot of us say it, our kids, our moms, our significant others, but it should be you because those people don't operate in the fashion that they would unless you're at 100. Like right now, if LeBron is at 100%, the Lakers are going to be phenomenal. But if he's at 70, they may win, but they're never going to be as good as if he's at 100. And that's how you got to look at yourself in your life. You're the LeBron of your life. So you got to give yourself that time. A lot of times we give ourselves the bare minimum of time that we give everybody else.
100%. Oh, I love that. I love that one right there. You feel me?
Yeah.
And when you said that, man, I named everything under the sun but me. You
Yeah.
feel me?
Yeah.
And I remember walking away from that segment and actually taking into consideration, like, damn, Demetrius, like, bro, like, you feeding everybody else,
Mm-hmm.
like, this 5-star quality meal, but you giving
Mm.
yourself scraps,
Mm. Yep.
And I don't know who need to hear this, but ain't nothing wrong with being selfish. Like, that is not a bad thing.
Yep. Yep.
And just like what you said with the LeBron analogy, you feel me?
Yep.
Like, how are you if you the head of your household? You feel me? Like, or you the leader on the team, or you the go-to guy at your job, or you that friend that everybody want to listen to. How can you maintain that position in your life if
Facts.
you are not taking care of yourself?
Facts.
You feel me?
Yep.
If you
Facts.
looked at it in a material sense,
Yeah.
like, if that's the car that you take it, if that's your daily driver,
No.
and it's taking you for work every single day, how do you expect it to continue to keep doing that if you're not taking it to get its oil changed?
Yeah.
If you're not getting some new tires on it? If you're not doing the proper maintenance on it?
No.
You feel me? If that's your house that you live in every single day that's providing you shelter,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? How is it going to remain that if you're not taking care of it?
Yeah.
So how do you expect to be that person for everybody else if
Yeah.
you don't even take care of yourself?
Yeah. I think that's the dopest analogy that you could have gave, bro, because I feel like we don't put enough information behind certain words, like you said. Like when you put it in that perspective, people will be like, "Oh yeah, I could do that. That's selfish is not bad." When you think of selfish, you think of just take, take, take. You know what I mean? And that's not the
100%.
selfish that we're speaking of. Like you say, I feel like right now we're giving you guys who's listening the permission to be selfish. Like again, we're
100%.
giving y'all permission to be selfish because, like you said, in the context of the word, selfish is giving yourself, not taking. It's giving yourself a more opportunity to be the best you.
100%, man. Like, and I think, like, just as we talk about the idea of what being selfish is, man. I think, you said something earlier this week, man. I gotta get better with the paraphrasing, but you were like, you know what I mean? Like, you
Yeah,
know what I'm talking about? Like,
yeah,
you had said, this my head. You know what I
yeah,
mean? Like, it was something it was about boundaries
yeah,
and
yeah.
how people, like, tend to overpour on you. You know what I
Absolutely.
mean?
Yeah.
And you're like this. I get paid to. Damn, man, I gotta pull
No,
it up,
no,
bro.
no, no.
Damn.
I know exactly what you were saying. What we were talking about, it was in a sense of career base. You know what I mean? Like, think about it. To all my nurses out there, if you're a nurse, think about it. When your family is in need of something that has to do with medical, they're calling you. Regardless if you just worked 24 hours in the ICU and you're dead tired and you literally like haven't slept a day, they're going to call you and they're going to feel like their needs is more than yours. So get there now. And when you go, it's a paper cut. You know what I mean? So it's like, holy crap. And I was speaking on the
Mhm.
content of me. I'm a therapist. I'm a life coach. I hold all of these hats. The same with you, Meech, as being an instructor and all of these things. People look at us for direction in everything. So a lot of times family, mental issues, relationships, work. It's coworkers. I'm dealing with people every day, and my coworkers see it, but they need help, so they coming to me. And if I don't say no, and being able to say no, I feel like that's the hardest word for us to say for the ones that's givers. So anybody that's a giver, think about how hard it is for you to say no because you like shit. If I say no, they might not need me, or they gonna think I'm an asshole or I'm mean. And it's like, no, you gotta have the ability to say no. And that's the only way, like you said. I feel like the people that know how to say no are the most happiest people in the world because no, it's a no. It's a no.
Bro, what's so crazy, man, is that, like, and I was just writing this down and it dawned on me. I was like, your inner self does not forgive as much as you think they do.
Mm.
You know what I mean? Like your
Yeah.
ego does not forgive as
Facts.
well as you think it does.
Facts. That's
And
deep.
that came to mind when, like, like when you allow somebody to cross your boundaries,
No.
when you say yes, when you know you wanted to say no, you think that you like gonna be the better man on that. You think
Yeah.
that your ego gonna let that go. Your ego
Mm-mm.
don't forgive on that.
Nope.
Because think about it, how many times have you said yes when you wanted to say no, and the whole time that you were in that situation, you could just hear this voice in the back of your mind talking about how you don't want to be there.
Yeah. So many times. So many times.
You know, and bro, hey, look, man, I'll just keep it a buck with you, man. Like I'm an ex people pleaser.
Mm-hmm.
That's something that I struggle with on a regular basis.
Okay.
You feel me? And I have to make a conscious effort. I have to make a conscious effort on a regular basis to say no, Demetrius. You have to say no, bro.
No.
You can't do that. You
No.
can't do that. You promised yourself that you wouldn't do that, so you can't do that.
No.
Because I'll hear a whole conversation in my head at the event talking about how I don't want to be here, how I can't stand this, how
No.
I could have been doing something else, and unknowingly what I end up doing is tarnishing the relationship between me and that person as well.
Facts. Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because
Because
I already
yeah,
don't want to be there.
that's deep.
Go ahead. You about to say it? You
No,
about to say
no,
it?
no. I love where you was going. I'm sorry. You be thinking the same thing. I be thinking. You get me excited because I'm like, oh crap, no. But it's the same thing because you become angry at this person because you like, I ain't want to be here in the first place, and you ungrateful, and you this and you that. When it's like you
Yep.
could have said no. And I remember a mentor of mine told me every time you say yes when you want to say no, you're saying no to yourself.
Yeah.
You
100%.
know, and I thought that was a gem because it was like, damn, we so quick to tell ourselves no and somebody else yes, where, like you said, you become this person that you're angry at the world, where really you're just angry at your ego because your ego is like, look, I told you to say no a million times and you didn't, you the one saying yes.
100%, man. And I love that part right there, man. You feel me? Because I don't think we address that enough.
Hmm.
Is that it's not even me being mad at you.
Yeah.
I'm mad at me.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like I'm mad at me, and I'm projecting. You feel me?
Deep.
And it's it ain't like I can pull myself off to the side and be like
Yeah.
this, like bro, like why did you put us here?
Right.
I'm mad that you continued the plan that you already had established,
Yeah.
and I agreed to go with it.
Yeah.
And I feel like the hardest part, man, is that we can always add in different variables.
No.
Family always hard to say no.
No.
Boundaries with family, I feel like, is one of the hardest things to maintain. And
Absolutely.
why do you think it's a hard thing to maintain?
I feel like because family puts you in a box. You know what I mean? Like you have every type of box you could think about in a family dynamic where when you're the survivor and you're the breadwinner, you're always going to be in that light no matter what. And you almost feel an obligation to uphold that title every time they ask. You know what I mean? Like, oh, my family, they don't have anybody else, so I can't say no. Where, like I said, we don't give ourselves permission to say, look, whatever happens, happens. And I have to live with saying no, where the guilt trip, family guilt trips us a lot. Like, when I did X,
Mm-hmm.
Y, and Z, and I always believe, but like you say, I feel like a lot of times in every situation, we don't give ourselves permission to say no because we're so worried about what other people may think of us once we start saying no.
I love that, man, and I feel like a lot of times, man, it's so hard to say no to family
Hmm.
because family doesn't see you for who you. It's hard. Sometimes family doesn't see you for who you are right now.
Hmm.
They see you for who you used to be.
Facts.
They see you for you know what I mean. Like they
No,
see you for the kid. They see you for the teenager. They see
no,
you for it's in order to establish boundaries with your family, I feel like you have to acknowledge who you are right now,
mm,
and you have to have a clear understanding between them
no.
that this is who I am right now. You know what I mean?
Boundaries. Yeah.
You feel me?
Yeah.
Because like your family will call you and they, you might have some stuff going on in your life, but they don't see you as, the therapist. They don't
No,
see you as the teacher. They don't see you as the Marine.
no,
They see you as the son,
no,
the brother,
no,
the cousin,
no,
the nephew. You
no.
know what I mean? And it's like, yeah, man, I get all that, bro. But at the exact same time, man, you got to figure that shit out, bro. I can't help
Right.
you. You
And
got to figure that
and
shit out.
and,
I
and
ain't gonna be
not
able to help
feel and not feel bad about it, because you got to understand that everybody goes through hardship. You know what I mean? And it's like it's not on you to save everybody. And then something that I learned in therapy too is you're not gonna save everybody. You know what I mean? Like it's impossible. Like no matter how good you do, you're not gonna be able to say yes to everybody. And sometimes saying yes is enabling family members.
Oh man, I love that, bro. I love that, man. Because earlier, I had just dropped a video, and I was telling people, man, man, I love when I make content like this.
Yeah,
You know what I mean? Like, there's certain types of content that resonate with me.
yeah,
Content about boundaries
yeah.
always resonates with my spirit, man, because I think like a part of me needed to hear that a long time ago.
Mm,
But I said along the lines, you feel me, is that stop taking the high road. You know what I mean? Stop
okay,
taking the high road and finally speak on that shit.
okay.
A lot of people always, pride themselves on taking the high road and
Hmm.
saying like, "Oh, it ain't worth my time. It ain't worth my energy. I'm gonna be the bigger man." I don't know who need to hear this, but between you and
Yeah,
I'm gonna just be completely honest with you. I ain't the bigger man.
right,
You feel me? Like I'm
right.
not the bigger man. And if you expected me to be the bigger man in this situation,
Yeah.
I promise you picked the wrong one because I have no intention on being the bigger man.
Right,
You know what I mean? And for the longest, bro, like I used to say that. You know what I mean? Like, oh man, I'm gonna be the bigger man and just let that go.
right,
Absolutely not.
right.
And the reason why is that by me doing that, I'm enabling you.
Facts.
You know what I mean?
No,
And when I choose to be this, oh, I'm gonna just let this go. I'm not going to speak on this. I'm gonna let that ride.
absolutely.
Not only have I created a baseline for how you are going to treat me,
No,
but I have also enabled your behavior
no,
because now you're going to think that what you do, how you speak to people, how you treat people,
no.
all of that's okay, and it's not.
Hey, one of the things that I tell my clients all the time is be careful what you tolerate because you're teaching people how to treat you.
100%.
No, like that's something
100%.
that I try to base on everything when we talk about boundaries, like especially that's something big in sessions. And I always tell them that, like, be careful what you tolerate because you're teaching people how to treat you. So to you, like you say, sometimes you overlook it, like, you know what, I'm gonna be the bigger person, da da da. But if you don't hold those people accountable and set new boundaries, once they cross those boundaries, you're going to forever feel disrespected by them because, like you said, you enable them and they never know where you stand. Where I tell people off rip, all right, once you cross a certain line, you no longer get that playing field no more. You start even further away when it comes to boundaries until I cut you completely off. Like I'm big on cutting people off. And I
Hmm.
tell people that like I say, don't feel bad for outgrowing somebody that could have grew with you. I say it a lot on here and I mean it. I stand on it because it's like a lot of times we can't cut family off. Yes, the fuck you can.
100%.
Friends, cousins, sister, uncle,
100%.
brothers, mom, dad, if their intentions are not pure, they should not have access to you.
100%, man. You feel me? You can't get mad at, and I even switch gears real quick, man. You can't even get mad at somebody cut you off.
Yeah,
You know what I mean? Like,
facts.
two things, man. Like, I don't know who needs to hear this, man, but every time you allow somebody to cross your boundaries, understand that those are now your new boundaries,
Mm,
whether you like it or not. Until
no,
you until you reaffirm something, those will
facts.
always be your new boundaries. And I look at it just like as if it was a line in the sand. The
No,
moment that I cross that line, you
no.
can draw that line where you between us again, but just know I'm gonna keep closing that distance between us until you decide that, hey, this needs to get changed.
No.
And I feel like a lot of people, like, they will say that, like, oh, well, these are my boundaries. Well, I just crossed your boundaries.
Hmm.
And you didn't say anything about that because your
No.
boundaries, that's for you. That's not a reminder to me. That's
No,
a reminder to you to enforce, and
no,
I feel like that's a big misconception right there, is that people will state their boundaries, and when they get crossed, nobody's saying anything. All right, well,
facts.
I mean, I guess they was just make believe.
Yeah,
You know what I mean? It was just make believe.
because they're afraid of what
Now, I'll be,
happens next.
yes,
No,
that's it right there.
no,
You know what I mean? And it goes back into, like, just cutting people off.
no.
A lot of us don't want to lose people in our lives because of the fear of being lonely, or the
Mm-hmm.
fear of not having access to people. Sometimes people are just okay with being used.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
no,
And the fact that if they reinstate those boundaries, they're saying, like, well, if you treat me like this, then I gotta go.
no,
You said that, but do you really believe that?
yeah,
You know what I mean? Like, is that really something that you prepared for?
yeah,
And I feel like that's one of the biggest things, especially when it comes down to sending it with family, when it's sending with friends, when it's just standing on your boundaries in general.
no,
So I challenge anybody that's listening to this episode, man, get comfortable with being alone.
no,
Because if you truly want to have healthy boundaries, you have to be comfortable with being alone until there are people who are going to respect your boundaries to come in your life. You know what I mean? Because if not, man, you're going to keep burning, you're going to keep rebuilding bridges that you burned.
no.
Establishing connections that you had cut off.
I mean, I think you just hit a point without even knowing it. Like you hit a great point right there. The point of being alone is to establish your boundaries with yourself. And that's where people lack. You know what I mean? Like when people say be alone, I don't think people really realize what that means. They like be alone and be what? Depressed, bored? No, be alone and fall in love with yourself and set boundaries for yourself. Because a lot of times, like we just said about saying yes to everybody, it's the boundaries within that we don't hold accountable. And that's why other people can feel. Because think like this, somebody that got boundaries where you be like, oh, I can't even cross their boundaries because they strict with their own boundaries. So it's like a lot of people can sense when you're not even authentic or empowering your own boundaries. So that's why they feel like it's okay to cross yours because they like you're not even upholding your boundaries. You know what I mean? Why should I? So a
You
lot
don't
of
even stand on that.
facts. So a lot of times being alone is what helps you create your boundaries and help you stand on them. Like, no, I'm not going out
100%.
every weekend. Why? You young? Because I have a goal. That's my boundary. You know what I mean? Don't cross my boundary. I'm not letting just anybody come over to my house. That's my sanctuary. Why? You young? You should have people up. That's my boundary. I don't trust the energy that people bring. And like you say, we're so quick to let somebody try to alter our own boundaries. That's why, like you say, it's that saying where they just keep taking an inch until they're in your personal space, and now you mad at you think it's them, but it's really yourself.
Man, I tell you, man, the amount of times where, because I had to learn boundaries at a very early point in my career.
Okay,
You know what I mean? Because, especially boundaries with my peers, boundaries with my superiors.
okay,
You know what I mean? Because if I did not have boundaries, man, like, I wouldn't have the respect of my peers. You know what I
okay,
mean? And I think a lot of people got to understand that, is that when you don't have boundaries, bro, like, you're not going to have respect.
okay,
You know what I mean? Like, respect and boundaries, those two, boundaries falls under respect. You
okay.
feel me? Respect of yourself, and
No,
then respect of everyone else.
yeah,
Because one of the biggest things that you gotta, a lot of us gotta understand is that people are going, and you said it earlier, people are
hmm,
going to treat you based off how you treat yourself.
no,
You feel me?
no,
If you talk to yourself like shit,
no.
hey, all I'm doing is just speaking the same language.
Right,
You feel me? That's
right,
all we do.
right.
Don't get mad at me because I'm telling you ain't shit. You just
Facts.
told yourself that.
Right.
I thought that was okay.
No,
You feel me? If you view yourself like shit, then you can't expect anybody to view you higher.
no,
You know what I mean? And yeah, there's gonna be people out there that are gonna sit back and they're gonna say, "Man, you're worth so much more." It means nothing if you don't see it.
no.
It means nothing if you don't see it. You
Facts.
feel me? So when we talk about boundaries, man, like, I had to set that very early on and get comfortable standing on that, because if I did not, people weren't going to respect me, and I had respect for myself. And a lot of people are holding, and the problem that, like, when it comes down to respect, is that there's a lot of us that are holding people to a standard that we're not even willing to hold ourselves to.
Mm,
So how do you expect someone else to hold this standard when you're not even holding the standard. You want
That's
somebody
deep.
to respect you,
Right.
but you don't even respect yourself. There's
Right.
no baseline.
Well, if you don't mind me asking, and if you don't mind sharing, how did you form those boundaries, like you said in your earlier career? Like, what were some of the things that you did that helped you kind of form boundaries?
I punched that guy dead in his face, RT.
Okay.
I punched that guy dead in his face, man. It
Okay.
ain't my best work. It
Okay.
ain't. I wasn't Meech. But this is the thing, though, RT. I wasn't Meech Speaks back then. You feel
Absolutely.
me? I wasn't him just
No,
yet. I was
facts.
working on becoming him.
Right.
You feel me?
Yeah.
But at the exact same time, I only knew, and I only knew so much. I only had so many tools in my arsenal. You
Right.
feel me? And talking it out just wasn't one of them just yet. Like
Facts.
I hadn't gotten my vocabulary robust enough to be able to articulate my words to describe my emotional state just yet. I
Okay.
just knew that if this was going to happen,
Yeah.
that I had no choice but to swing after that. You know what I
Gotcha.
mean? But to give it a little bit of backstory, man. We was at a platoon function, and one of the guys, man, like I ain't gonna say his names, but one of the guys, he was yelling at one of my corporals.
Okay.
You feel me? Now I'm a junior Marine at the time, like
Okay.
so when I say one of my corporals, he's literally yelling at like my direct supervisor,
Okay.
and I do have a certain line of respect with him.
Gotcha.
And I told him, I was like, hey man, like I was like, hey, don't talk to him like that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Mind you, we both young. We're both,
Yeah.
you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And he looked over at me and told me to shut the fuck up.
Mm-hmm.
He told me to shut the fuck up and suck his dick.
Right.
I'm gonna just keep it a buck with you. I know this is Unpack Friday,
No,
so
yeah.
I'm gonna have to go ahead
Hey,
and unpack
unpack.
this. You feel me? But he looked over at me, man, and he said, "Suck his dick." I said, "Hold up, man. The dick factory closed. All right, like that. Like I ain't sucking
Right.
nobody's dick.
Right.
I ain't sucking nobody's dick.
Right.
And don't talk to me like that. And don't talk to me like that." And when I said that, you feel me? Like he come over there, man. He get in my face. He pushed me. The moment that he
Boundaries.
pushed me, the switch of my bow right in the face. I'm not about to play. We're not about to play this whole pushing match. You know what I mean?
No.
We're not about to play that. And once again, yes, did I resort to violence? But I felt like at that moment right there, that was the only thing that I knew. But right after that, it got very easy for me to say like, hey, don't talk to me like that.
Right.
Because I had already established this clear baseline. Like, hey, if you do choose to talk to me like this,
No.
just understand that I'm not a liar when I say what's going to happen next. Because
Right.
everyone was present.
Right.
But as I got older, granted, I would go to a different unit.
Right.
And I'm not about to develop this track record of, oh, well, Thigpen gets into fights everywhere he goes.
Right.
No, but when somebody did cross my boundaries, when someone would say something that I didn't like, I would immediately address it right there.
Right.
And I got very comfortable with killing the vibe in the room.
Got you.
You know what I mean? Like a lot of people don't want to mess up the energy in a room. Everything's all going good and stuff like that.
Right.
And somebody says something that you don't like, you don't want to ruin the vibe. Fuck the vibe.
Right.
I'm the vibe. You know
Right.
what I mean? Like I'm the vibe.
Right.
And if I have to ruin the vibe in the room to reinforce a boundary that you crossed,
Right.
then I'm going to reinforce that boundary. I don't care about this vibe. You know what I mean? Because at the end of the day, I'm not about to sit back with myself and now I got to have a conversation with myself. I got to convince myself that what I did was okay when we both know that it was wrong.
Facts. One thing I want to do, man, this is why I love your show and love speaking with you because I feel like it's a lesson in everything. One, I feel like what you just shared probably helped 1,000 people. And the reason I'm saying that is one, it's two reasons. The first reason is it shows growth. Like nobody's fucking perfect. You know what I mean? Where we all have to start somewhere. It's not about where you start, it's about where you finish. You know what I mean? So it shows our authentic self to like they hear you speak, they see how much you accomplish now. And I think for a lot of people, when they hear us speak or hear what we do for a living, they may think we feel like we're perfect and we don't go through shit. Like, no, it was a whole process to get here. And I feel like what we just talked about is boundaries where you don't know your boundaries until they're pushed. You know what I mean? So I feel like that story in itself was beautiful because it's like you don't know your boundaries until they're pushed to a certain limits, until you're able to establish these new boundaries where we're not telling the listeners, like for somebody that needs to hear this, we're not telling you, oh, you got to get every situation right. But what we telling you is learn from it and assert a new boundaries where you don't make that same mistake over and over again. You know what I mean? And I feel like that story. So I appreciate you, bro, because that's the authentic self of using yourself to help a million others. Like it's probably 2,000 people right now. Like, oh, I thought we were supposed to have this boundary shit figured out. Like, no, we had to get there. Like we literally had
Absolutely
to
not.
get there. And I want to share real quick, if you don't mind, one of my stories. I'm hoping that it helps somebody. So,
Oh man, this is just as much as your show it is mine, man. Go ahead and
right.
share.
So mine was from a different standpoint. Mine was, I remember when I first became a therapist, I was 21. I was the youngest therapist in the region. So, um in my head, I gotta impress everyone. You know what I mean? Like, it's no
Mm-hmm.
job that I can say no to because it's like, all right, I'm already young. They already thinking I'm a fuck up, and then everybody's just coming to me. But I had to see, okay, I didn't realize a lot of people were taking advantage of me because they knew I would say yes. So my workload, I'm not leaving, my workload is three times of what it should have been because this therapist, hey, can you fill this out? Can you do this? Can you do that? Can you do that? I almost burnt myself out to where I just wanted to be done with therapy, period, because I said yes to everybody. And it wasn't until the first day where my supervisor came in and he was like, hey, you mind doing this? And I don't know what took control over me, but I was like, hell no. And he looked because he was like, wait a minute, he ain't never told me no, but yet the way he said it, and I was like, that's your job. And he was like, wait, huh? I was
Mm-hmm.
like, if I'm doing your job, why are you getting paid for it? And I remember, um, I remember afterwards, like it taking over, but I remember me realizing like it was the buildup of letting them cross my boundaries so much that made me have an outburst and not really so much of them asking. It was more me than them. And I had to take accountability to be like, okay, wait a minute, I'm mad at everybody but my fucking self here. So I'm pointing the finger at everybody when I should have been like, fuck no. Like you do your own fucking work or
Mm-hmm.
you figure the fucking question out. I got a shitload. So for me, like you say, it was one of those things where now the easiest thing for me to say is no. And I don't give no explanation. I think that's what need to be said. For somebody that needs to hear, it, learn how to say no with no explanations. A lot of times we feel like we gotta
I need
always
that.
yeah, see, and a lot of times we feel like we gotta always attach a reason why we say no. No, it's no because I don't want to. I'm never going to do what I don't want to. And that's what I developed right there. I don't have to give you a reason why I'm saying no.
Bro, that one right there resonates with me on a level because it's like when I say no, I always feel bad because I feel like I gotta say, oh nah, man, I got stuff going on this weekend.
No,
Nah, man, my shoulder's killing me.
no,
Nah, man, I'm gonna be. No,
no,
you know what I mean. Just
no,
just saying no
yeah,
and just leave it at that. Like,
no.
nah, I'm good, bro.
I
Appreciate it though.
challenge, I
Appreciate it though.
yeah, I challenge you and I challenge all our listeners to start seeing no explanation and see the response, how it goes from okay, because what you do now, when you give an explanation, you get yourself into this tug of war of when you can and when you can't. You know what I mean? And sometimes that's how you talk yourself into doing it. No, I can't do it. I gotta watch my cousin next Thursday. All right, well, can you do Friday? Shit, I guess I could do Friday. Where
Yes.
you don't want to do it, so be authentic and just say no.
Damn, that's it right there, man. Because I don't know how many times. First off, I don't. Back to your story, the pressure cooker. You know what
Hmm.
I mean? Like when you allow stuff to just build up like that, man. Like
Oh,
that's
yep.
happened to me on so many occasions where
No.
it's like because I have said yes so many times, I'm just like, damn, damn, damn. And you're expecting someone else to be like, all right, maybe he's had enough.
Mm-hmm.
But once again, being selfish, it involves you. You know what I
No,
mean? And everybody else gonna be selfish in their own way. You know what I mean? So if
no.
that means that they taking from you, they gonna take from you until you say that you can't take anymore.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? And finally, and I don't know how many times, and I don't know who needs to hear this, but if you don't address it now,
Mm-hmm.
it will be addressed later.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? It's not like if it's going to be addressed, it will be addressed later. I don't
Mm-hmm.
know when, but eventually it's going to be addressed later, and
Mm.
you're going to end up blowing up
Like
over
I did.
something small.
No,
But to the, you know what I mean? Like
no,
it's small on the surface. No,
no.
it's a whole lot going on the inside, and that's definitely happened to me. And I appreciate you sharing that, bro.
Thank you, bro. It was a year
But
of yeses. It was a year yeses
yeah,
that threw me over the top. It took me a whole year to finally say no, and it was a year of yeses that broke the camel's back. Where it was like it's something he asked me. It was something so simple where it would have took me literally 30 seconds, but a year yeses turned into an outburst. It turned out to me and what and I don't mean to cut you off, bro, but it brings me to the point too is we talk about boundaries and we didn't even bring this up yet, and I'm shocked neither one of us did. But when I told my story, it took me back to a place I would have prevented a burnout, and that's what boundaries do. Boundaries help you prevent burning out, and that's something we don't speak about enough. Where we always talk about boundaries and being selfish and setting boundaries is what helps us prevent a burnout.
man. And for those who aren't listening, man, like, could you explain what burnout is?
Yeah, burnout could come in a lot of forms. A lot of times, burnouts is when you're just overwhelmed with so much and you hit a capacity or you hit a wall where you just want to give up on anything. And like your lack of emotions are not in it. And like the way it may appear for everyone could be different. Like for some people, they could just lose interest in everything they're doing, or they may be over aggressive in what they're doing. I see it a lot with teachers. I see it a lot with, our service workers where when they're burnt out, they're not responding to the needs of their clients or their students because they're already in a state of mind
Mm-hmm.
where they're not open enough. You know what I mean? So, what about you? What do you feel when you hear burnout? What do you hear?
Man, to be honest with you, I when I hear burnout, I see a burnout. You know what I mean?
Mm,
Like a fire, like cinders. You know what I mean? Like you
mm,
ever seen like a bonfire, and once it's all put out, like
yeah,
the cinders of it. You know what I mean? Like I,
yes,
you know, and what I when I hear burnout, I go back to what I felt when it happened to me.
mm-hmm,
You know what I mean? Because just like you, a whole year of yeses, a
yep,
whole year of yeses turned to me hating something that I loved.
yep,
You know what I mean? Like I didn't want to talk about it. I didn't want to deal with it because it felt like I wasn't. It just felt like it was just overexerting me in
mm-hmm,
every shape and form.
no,
And it got to a point where it was just like, dude, like when you start to burn out, bro, like you don't even care how it look no more.
mm-hmm,
You don't even, like your work performance is at an all time low. You're meandering through things. You're meandering through life.
no,
People talking to you. You don't even got the energy to even be around anybody. You know what I mean? And it's because you're exactly what the word is. You're burnt out. Like
no,
there's no fire going on right now. You know what I
no,
mean? Like no matter how many times you keep trying to fan it,
mm,
you know what I mean? It's not sparking. You know
no,
what I mean? So that's exactly what I think of when I hear burnout.
dope. Okay.
Now, you had mentioned, man, and this is one of the biggest things that really stood out to me, man, is that, when we talk about like emotions, man, like
Mm-hmm.
you being in that field, how often do people just drop emotions on you?
Mm. What's funny is I would say definitely early on it was a lot, and it's still a lot now. But what's funny is for my core friend group and my core family, I have established boundaries, like to a T now. Where don't tell me any bad information while I'm at work dealing with other situations. You know what I mean? And like they my people know now, but I tell you it's hard. I almost hate telling anyone new what I do. And sometimes your friends are so excited to tell what you do. But the moment that somebody hears therapist, life coach, da da da, they're so quick to tell. But like we talked about before, I have a firm boundaries now where I'm like, yeah, I'm not here for that. And to some people, they might be like, God damn, that was rude. Where it's like, it's rude for you to just try to pile on your shit to me. So I'll cut them dead in their tracks where hey man, I'm just here to have a good time. I appreciate it, but I ain't here for that, man. And a lot of times it's received very well, and a lot of times it may not. But you know what's funny with our boundaries? I don't give a fuck, because it's like I gotta
Oh, I
protect
love
me.
that.
I gotta protect me. What about you? How often is that dropped
Man,
on you?
man, look, man, ever since it was like a slow. At first, it was just like onesies and twosies, man. And I
Okay.
feel like it kind of like that's what made it so easy to answer back at first.
Mm-hmm.
But then it got to a point. It got to a point where, especially now being in that space,
Mm-hmm.
where people reach out to me and they're asking for advice, or they ain't even asking. You know
Mm-hmm.
what I mean? It's like I dread the messages where it's like, hey, can I ask you something? Because I know if I open it, it's
Mm.
a paragraph
A
of
paragraph.
something else. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Yeah.
And it's like, damn, bro,
Facts.
like you ain't even confirmed if you could even ask me
Right.
if I was good on this. You know what I mean?
Right.
And it would get to a point because I think it was somebody that called me, man, like, and they crying, you know what I mean? And I'm like, bro, like I'm not equipped.
No.
I'm not equipped to handle that.
No.
And I think that was one of the when you talked about self awareness, when the idea of understanding, like, bro, like I'm not equipped to handle that. You know
Facts.
what I mean? You need to fucking seek a counselor.
Right.
You need to go to legal. You need to
Right.
talk to. I'm a podcaster, man. Like
Yeah.
you put me way too high up on a pedestal. I ain't trying to like minimize it, but
No.
it would get to a point where no, I will unknowingly walk away with that emotional residual. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like those secondhand emotions.
No.
Like you done sat here and, confess these issues with me. I'm
No.
going through the emotions with you.
No.
Now you had somewhere for your emotions to go. I have
No.
nowhere for mine
Right.
to go.
No.
So I actually took this idea from this one person who set boundaries with me.
Okay.
You feel me? And I remember I had called and I was asking about something, and it was an issue that I was having, and
Mm-hmm.
she simply said, "I don't have space. I don't have space for that right now."
Mm.
And I was like, "Excuse me?" And she was like, "This, I don't have space for that right now."
Right.
You know what I mean? Because a lot
Yeah.
of people, people don't, they don't handle it well when people tell them no.
Right.
You know what I mean? And
Mm.
and, and that kind of caught me off guard. My ego got the best of me. I was like this. I was like, hold up, nah. Like I just talked to you yesterday. You
Right.
feel me? I was like, what you mean you ain't got space? What you mean you ain't got space right now? What you mean you ain't got space for me?
No.
What's the issue? But she just simply said, like, look, I ain't got space for that right now.
No.
And that was her letting me know, like, like, look, right now, like, I don't have that shoulder for you to like lean on. I don't have
No.
that ear. I don't have space for anybody else's emotions but my own. And I
Mm-hmm.
need you to respect that.
No.
And I feel like that I ended up subconsciously taking that from her, and I
Mm.
would use that, and I would tell people now, like, look, man, like, hey, I'm not trying to be rude, but I don't have space for that right now, bro.
Right.
I can get back to you at a later date, or I can direct you to somebody else that can help, but right now I don't have that space.
No, I think that's brilliant. You know what I mean? And I feel like a lot of my friends, I feel like we had a conversation. We always have like these group talks where we just have like open dialects and stuff like that. And a lot of times it's to their surprise, whenever we have a party or anything, I'm the quietest one in the room. Where they be like, damn, why? You probably know
Exactly.
a little bit about everything, but why don't you speak? And a lot of times, I don't think people realize how draining certain careers is. Where if I just dealt with four suicidal patients, three sexual abuse, um, one completed suicide, the last thing on my mind I want to do is get off and talk about a problem with one of my homeboys. And with all my friends, they know they got a 1 to 2 topic minimum with me, and I didn't express that to them. So what that
Mm-hmm.
looks like is, if we talk about something for the first time, I might give you a second time, and I'm going to give you direction on where to go with that. If I see you don't follow my directions, you can never bring that conversation up to me again, because I'll tell you, bro, I don't have time to re-talk
Mm-hmm.
about it. I have some homeboys that want to talk about the same relationship problem, and that's a whole boundary we ain't even get into yet. But a whole relationship problem, And it's like, bro, I'm not, I don't have the mental capacity to deal with that today, and I leave it at that. And they understand it.
Oh man, and I feel like that's one of the biggest things right there, man. It's just, you know, surrounding yourself around people that understand it.
Yeah,
You feel me? And just like like when we talk about relationships, bro, like I feel like that's one of the biggest things, man. Like having boundaries in a relationship is going to be critical, bro. Like
very.
you feel me? Like it's one of those things. It's like how do you expect this relationship to go if there is no boundaries ever set?
No. And what's funny, this can be a whole nother segment. So if y'all want this, let us know, because this could definitely be a whole nother segment.
100%.
But you hear a lot of couples say, "What's mine is yours. What's yours is mine." You know what I mean? And I feel like that's one of the most hypocritical statements that you could absolutely say in a relationship, because it shows right there that, like you say, it's no boundaries, and that's where I see the relationship crash a lot, because you just move effortless, and you move like you don't have to respect your partner because it's your partner, where that should be the person you have the most boundaries with, because that's where the respect is grown.
100%, man. 100%. You know, man, just completely off topic.
Hmm.
Just completely off topic. We're gonna have to do an episode on like love languages. You feel
Ooh,
me? Cause men don't talk about love
they
languages
don't.
on a regular basis. You know
They
what I
don't.
mean? And being able to set boundaries in a relationship and how to establish or how to maintain a healthy relationship. You know what I
No.
mean? Because I feel like, from our perspective, like we would definitely do good there. You know what I
Okay.
mean? Like it ain't gotta be He Man, the woman hater fucking podcast,
Never. Yeah.
like the ones you see on a regular basis. But definitely having that perspective would definitely, bro. Like I would love to have that conversation with you.
No. No. I think that.
But
Go ahead, bro.
oh no, go ahead.
No,
My
I was
bad.
about to say, I think that would be great. And like you say, for one, we want to let y'all know, women, we think y'all are remarkable. But we also, like you said, want to have a voice and want to shout out. It's some great guys out there, and it's some good men out there that don't have proper boundaries because no one would ever taught them, and they don't know their love languages because they never got taught it. So if you can hear from us, people that have been through it and do teach it, why not? You know what I mean? And like you say, it's not a knock against women at all, because we're gonna have a lot of episodes for y'all. But like you say, I do feel like for our males it would be extremely beneficial, because I feel like that's even a boundary within itself, to understand your love language and not accept nothing less if you don't get it, because we always talk about what a woman needs. Let's talk about what a man needs. You know what I mean? And I feel like that's a big boundaries that a lot of guys lack. Where if you ask a guy, "What's your boundaries?" They're like, "Whatever she say." Like, no, what's your fucking
Hmm.
boundaries?
Hmm. I love that, man. I love that, bro. Man, once again, man, another conversation, another Friday. Man, I tell you, man, like every single time we get on air, man, it's gonna be a good conversation. And it's gonna be nothing but love on the conversation, bro. And I appreciate that, man.
Absolutely.
Definitely appreciate that, bro.
Absolutely, bro. I appreciate you. And like I said, today was a classic. And two, for all the listeners, let us know if it's any topics that y'all want us to address, because we are getting a couple coming in, and we're very open to it. We love the support, and we appreciate y'all so much. And y'all make us everything we are, but we enjoy doing it. And I enjoy doing it with you, bro. You're amazing, man.
Always, bro, man. Always.
And just like that, another extraordinary thought left this ordinary mind. I hope you enjoyed this episode half as much as I enjoyed making it. Now, do me a favor, if you're on Apple or Spotify, don't forget to leave a 5-star review for this podcast. And lastly, hit that subscribe button, because this podcast deserves to grow just as